Shall we take a seat?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, a warm welcome to all of you. So, what is the event today? So, we will discuss the Energy Union today, and a warm welcome again to all of you who want to participate in this citizens' dialogue. This is not the first time we're having the first time with you, I hope not the last one, with you in this series of citizens' dialogues with the European commissioners. We had a very good time. Some of you were here, probably. We had a good time with Commissioner Bulc a couple of months ago. So we feel very good that we can be back here at the Technical University. We will discuss the Energy Union with Marošu Šefčoviču, who is the commissioner responsible for the Energy Union. I will introduce him in a little more detail in a couple of moments, but I would like to start us off with welcome remarks by the rector, if you could, please.
Hello. Welcome in Rīgas Tehniskās University, dear Commissioner. We are very proud that you are here in our university, in our campus, Ķīpsela, and also new building of Faculty of Electrical and Power Engineering. As I told you, actually at this moment we are the largest university in Latvia with a number of students, around 15,000 of them, and mostly we have faculties of engineering. And in energy research, I can tell you we are leading entity and institution in Latvia. Also, we are building a new energy research center just close to 200 meters from here, and it will be ready in autumn, in I think October. And then you next time come to us after maybe in next spring, then energy research center will be ready. I am not going to talk very much, but this research, what we are doing, is our one of main priorities of in university. Of course, we have doing research in more than 100 departments, but nevertheless, energy is very important for every country, and therefore we are very. This will be very important to listen your words here today in this workshop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rector.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rector. So, Marošu Šefčoviču, you have a lot of sh and ch in your name. I suppose your name has been abused repeatedly in your long career in Brussels.
Your pronunciation is perfect.
Yes, I mean, in Latvian we have the sh and the chi, so you're very safe here, very safe with respect to your name. Mr. Šefčovič is a Slovak diplomat by training, has an extensive experience in the European Commission. He previously served as a commissioner for interinstitutional relations, but in this current commission under Jean-Claude Juncker, he's the vice president in charge of the Energy Union. A couple of words on how we're going to work today. We will have 3 rounds. We have attempted to divide, there are 100 issues you can discuss under the title Energy Union. We thought that it might be most useful for us to discuss in more detail in 3 rounds. Round 1, energy security issues. Round 2, infrastructure investments, particularly with respect to Juncker investment plan, might be very important for Latvia. And round 3 on energy efficiency and low carbon economy. So how this is going to work is that we're going to have approximately 20 minutes for each of those rounds, and the Commissioner will have the opportunity to give his remarks, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and then hopefully we will have an extensive Q&A session. We are very keen to hear from you. You are the experts. I'm the journalist. I couldn't count. Otherwise, I would have studied in Rīgas Technical University, so I don't know much about those issues. You are the experts. and you are the students, you are the stakeholders, you are the opinion leaders, experts, civil servants, and you have the opportunity to talk to the Vice President of the Commission. So, hopefully, please help me out with the questions, okay, on those rounds. I have my own questions, but you might not be too satisfied with them. Right. For those of you who do not feel very comfortable talking English, we have a translator here. So if you want to, you can ask your question in Latvian and Russian, even though you speak Latvian. No, you speak Russian.
I speak Russian,
bit of
yeah.
Russian.
Yeah.
You said that he said that his Russian is in a Baltic accent.
Yeah,
At least that's what they
that was
say.
the best I made. You know,
Yeah,
that, they
right.
said it. Vi откуда, наверное, где-то с Прибалтики. Так,
All right.
it was the best I've managed with accent.
But he also said that now that his Russian is deteriorating, he sounds more like Georgian Russian.
So I'm kind of, you know, thickening my accent,
good.
I have to say. Yeah.
All right. Any case, questions in Latvian and Russian, please. If you don't feel comfortable talking in English, posing those questions, feel free to ask them in Latvian. We have a translator who will help us out. Okay, before we begin with the rounds, let me just ask you very primitively. Energy union, what is the big fuss all about? Is it just not the case of a new government, the new commission coming in and saying, well, we need to be somehow separate and distinct from the previous guys. So we announced the energy union, even though it is just a collection of all the things that had been done before anyway. It's just a new label for all of it. And maybe Commissioner Piebalgs could have later a comment on that, how much he is one of your predecessors, or maybe this is something new altogether. So a couple of introductory words on this issue. What is all about the Energy Union, and how is it different from what we've seen coming out of the Commission for many years already?
No, thank you very much for that question, and I'm not avoiding it, but I cannot resist but really to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. I really would like to thank Mr. Rector for inviting us, and I heard that you had very good experience with the Commissioner Bulc, so I will try to be compared with her temperament and spontaneity, because we are working on many issues together. And I'm also very glad that Andris Piebalgs is here, because I'm kind of his successor. We've been working together in the two commissions. He's always in a good mood. He's super professional, and he saved my country in 2009. Where really the supply of gas was completely cut off to Slovakia. I was at that time working ambassador to the EU. It was a very difficult moment for my country, and Andris was there to help, and it's very well remembered.
So you owe us.
Excuse me?
You owe us.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And the second thing I would like to say, I was asking Mr. Rector that how many students are in these universities and how are you doing after graduation? And I was very encouraged to hear that all of you will be working, all of you will have jobs, and it's something what I think we have to appreciate and treasure in Europe, because we have a lot of bright people in Europe who unfortunately study the subjects for which it's very difficult to find the workplace in Europe, and therefore I think the universities like this, and I heard that it was a little bit helped by the European Union money. I'm very proud of it, because this is what we need to do to prepare young people for the professions of the future, and engineering, energy, IT. I think all these are clearly the professions of the future. And coming to your question, to summarize it in a couple of words, I think over the last couple of years, we had, I would say, these energy issues kind of bubbling on the surface. You know, there was complaint, these countries is subsidizing too much of the renewables, other countries subsidizing too much of nuclear power. I mean, or these countries subsidizing too much of coal. I mean, we have all this, you know, very difficult plethora or different kind of subsidy system, which led to the fact that, I mean, we pay too much for electricity and for the heat. On top of it, I mean, we've been trying desperately to create the internal energy market, and Andris was working very hard on it to remove administrative barrier, to build interconnections, but still, after that many years of efforts, we still do not have that internal energy market, meaning we have 28 separate markets where very often dominant suppliers and dominant companies have been playing much bigger role than we would like them to play, and the result was that we didn't feel secure. Each summer, we've been asking the questions how we would make it, I mean, through the next winter, especially in this part of the world, in Central and Eastern Europe. And on top of it, we thought that also we need to do something more European if it comes to the integration of renewables into our energy mix. So this was all kind of bubbling on the surface for some years. But then I think especially the conflict in Eastern Ukraine, this renewed threat to our energy security somehow made it very vivid, very plastic, very visible also for the political elites in Europe. And suddenly this political momentum for doing the whole thing, for having this comprehensive, holistic approach, how to change the energy, how to transform our energy systems in Europe was there. And what is different? I think what is different is the fact that this time what we are trying to do is not only to look at energy in, I would say, in this old vision, meaning that energy is about how energy is produced, how it's distributed, and how it's consumed. That we are also not looking at the energy from the point of view of 5 years ago, how to combine energy with renewables. But we are really taking a holistic approach to it. How we combine our commercial trade policy with energy. How we would incorporate and integrate transport, which is big consumer of energy and big emitter of CO2. What we do with agriculture, which is particularly very important for your country here, and I discussed it this morning with your Prime Minister. What can we do with the cohesion funds to channel them better into financing infrastructure project, into financing research and innovation? So altogether, when we formed the team which was preparing the Energy Union strategy, there was 14 commissioners which have been working together. 16 directors general have been contributing to this document. Therefore, I think, I hope, I mean, I'm not bragging too much, but it's the first time when we are really trying to have this holistic approach covering all these 5 dimensions of the Energy Union under one roof, and doing it in a way that we can really transform how we use energy in Europe in a way that Europe will preserve its competitive edge and will do it in an environmentally friendly way. So in a few minutes I would probably end up here.
Very good. Thank you. So now we move on into this first round that I announced on energy security and diversification of supply. We will have remarks now from the Commissioner. Please do, if you have those questions coming, please do not be ashamed to ask them. So, Energy Union, how will it contribute now to, for the next 5 years? How do you envisage your job, basically? How will you strengthen, through this instrument, energy security, diversification of supply? I mean, clearly with the, you already mentioned that the Ukraine crisis has given a new impetus to all this. So it has clearly now been recognized as a geopolitically important security issue. Do you see also from the point of view of the national governments, you repeatedly mentioned 28 of them, you have to fight with them oftentimes, work together with them, but fight with them at the same time. So what carrots and sticks will you use to do your job, basically, on the segment of energy security?
On the energy security, we put it clearly as a dimension number 1 because I think it gained really a strong political importance over the last few years. But we said that we would like to improve, consolidate our energy security through the solidarity and trust. And these 2 words are very important. Solidarity, it means that if there is a problem, we actually help each other. There is this musketeer, one for all for one. And I have to say that in 2009 we really felt it in Slovakia, because without the assistance from our neighbors, with reverse flows and with the gas coming from the gas storages, we would be freezing much longer than we did in 2009. At the same time, the trust is also about, I would say, responsibility, that you do your own contingency planning, precautions, and if it's still not enough, that others will help you. The trust is also about that we are not going to surprise our neighbors with some kind of sudden energy decisions which would put your neighbors into the difficult situations. And how we want to achieve it. Of course, there are several aspects in it. The first one is diversification. I think we simply have to diversify our energy sources and make sure that all our member states would have access to more than one supply of energy. So it means that we are working very hard on getting new gas from the new direction, Caspian gas, to Europe, which will be in Europe before 2020. We are working on integrating better the southern eastern European countries like Bulgaria, Romania, but also Balkan countries like Serbia into the energy system of EU in a way that they will have access to at least 3 different sources of gas. This winter we are going to present the new LNG strategy for Europe, because we have LNG terminals. We are using the capacity something like a little over 20%. The question is, are they strategically located? Are they well interconnected? How can we really increase their potential? We put it on the table of the negotiations with the Americans. We really would like them to help us by removing the restrictions or exporting LNG to Europe. And Secretary of Energy Monitz, when he was in Brussels last week, he announced in our meeting that, you know, my desk is clean. I signed all the requests for export of LNG from the States. It's 90 billion cubic meters, so it's quite massive volumes, and I believe that it's just beginning. And on top of it, of course, we want to consolidate our relationship with Norway, with Algeria, to really use our indigenous sources in Europe as much as we can, and hopefully to proceed once the peaceful solution for Ukraine is found for rebalancing of the relationship with Russia. I think we should have an interest in having fair, balanced, transparent, normal commercial relationship if it comes to the energy. We are the major customer, they are a major supplier, so I hope that we can really discuss energy in I would say very rational way without political implications as a commercial relationship. So these are, I would say, the issues related to diplomacy, or this mingling between foreign policy and energy policy. But in practical terms, what is also very important for all of us is that we would respect our own rules, that we would create internal energy market, remove these barriers I was referring to, building interconnectors, what we need for gas and electricity transfer, and using our gas storages in a very professional manner. And for all this, we are going to prepare, I would say, legislation proposals step by step from this summer until the summer in 3 years' time, where we really would like to transform the idea of the energy union in very concrete framework, which would be created, or I can use, or framed by our legislative proposals which we are going to put on the table.
Great, 3-year time frame for concrete measures being implemented already. Okay, but the floor is open to questions, please. I will jump ahead with one of my own, but please. But
there is a question.
Oh, there is a question,
please. Yes. Jump on the audience as you suggested. So.
Yes. Hello, Mr. Šefčovič. My name is Oleg Slinkevich. I'm representing Latvenergo, its national power utility. I have a question about the decarbonization strategy of the European Union. So, due to the shale gas revolution in the United States, gas prices in the United States are twice lower than in the European Union. As a result, natural gas has partly substituted coal in the electricity balance of the United States. And as a result of this, the coal prices decreased substantially. And in Europe, what we have, that power producers start to use coal instead of gas, and even some gas-fired power plants are mothballed or shut down. So, in fact, what we have in Europe, that CO2 neutral generation, which is gas, is substituted by coal, which is more harmful for the environment. What is your vision about this? Do you comment, please?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for this question. I should have given you a candy. First question from the audience always gets a candy, but I have forgotten some of mine. Cheers. Thank you. Keep those questions coming, okay?
Thank you very much for this question, and you're absolutely correct. Yeah, that we are investing a lot in introducing the renewables into our national mixes, in fighting the CO2 emissions, and at the same time, you're absolutely right that we have seen over the last few years that the coal was more and more used in our power generation. And what is the reason for that? The reason for that is that the carbon price which we have today on the market is simply not reflecting the real carbon price. And I think that we simply would need to fix this phenomenon, because we had simply too many carbon allowances on the market, and clearly the price signals which we sent by this very low price for carbon was that actually to buy the coal is cheaper than to invest in innovation. And I think that now we have, I would say, a very strong call from policymakers, but also from the industry, that we simply need to correct the system. I think we have to be also, I would say, a little bit honest with ourselves, that when we introduced the emission trading system, it was first in the world, is still the widest, the biggest, and simply it was very difficult to predict all the forecasts, how the carbon price would evolve, what would be the economic developments. Nobody expected that the crisis would come and would be so deep. But now I think we learned from that experience, and what we are going to do is that we are going to present the proposal to reform emission trading system based upon the recent decision of the member states and the European Parliament on so-called market stability reserve. It's something very technical, but those of you who study energy, you know what I'm talking about. It's about removing the additional allowances from the market, which are actually pushing the price too low for the innovation. So with this system fixed, I believe that very soon we will have the right carbon price signals, which would again lead and motivate the industry for innovation, for investing in the fuel and in the technology of the future, and not to come back to the old type of the power generation.
All right. Any more questions, please? Yes, we have could we deliver a microphone there? Thank you very much. If you could introduce yourself.
I am already asking this question second time today. So
right.
I had participating also at the first meeting. So, and you rightly mentioned that one of the cornerstones of energy security is, of course, interconnections. And obviously we all know that Baltic countries is not interconnected to the common EU grid. And in order to connect Baltic countries, you have to build Lithuanian and Polish interconnection, famous GIPL. And I know also that GIPL had received funding from as a common interest project. However, on the deadline for signing of agreement with the project promoters was 18th of May. This agreement, as far as I know, or the agreement on construction of this particular project have not been signed. So how you would comment on that, and how is the way out of this situation? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. Now we can compare the answers you get this morning with mine. No, but you're absolutely right. And this, the first thing I want to say, that this is one of the challenges of working on the energy union. That very often you have good intentions, which here is the case. Very often you have also European funding, but very often it's still difficult. And I think this is also the case here. And I can tell you that I discussed this issue when I was with Poland, with Madam Prime Minister Kopacz, and also this morning with your Prime Minister. And I think there is clear political will that we have to succeed with this project. Why it's difficult, I think one of the reasons, as always, are the finances. Even though this project, I remember very well when it was approved, it was almost half of the so-called first call of the proposals. It was, I mean, we've been a little bit even criticized, I have to say, the European Commission, that how come such a big chunk of the money from that first call for a proposal goes to this one project. And now, of course, it's not a good news that we are not progressing. So, I mean, this morning with Madam Prime Minister, I suggested that we would explore the possibilities how we will put together, of course, the experts from Baltic countries, from Poland, and from the European Commission to also look at the additional financing proposals. Can we, look what we can, how we can help through the strategic investment fund? Can we look through some other financing opportunities through EIB or through some other sources? Because this project is simply strategic. I absolutely agree with you. Until Gipel is not being built, we cannot say that the Baltic countries overcome that feeling and impression of being energy island, and therefore I just can promise you that we are not going to give up on this project because it must be built. And the same, I would say, on other projects in your country, if it comes to the electricity connection with Poland, with Estonia, if it comes to another, this Baltic connector with Sweden, or the gas storage you have here, because all these are elements upon which we have to work, because if we adopted good solutions for all of them, it would really give totally different sense of energy security to your country and to your Baltic neighbors, and it will of course be strong contributions to the overall energy security feeling of the European Union. So I just want to tell you that this is not specific only to Latvia and Poland. We have similar discussions with France, with Spain, with many other countries. So sometimes really it takes longer than it should, but it's on the priority list, and for sure we will be dealing with it.
All right. I will now take the opportunity to ask a question, and then you, okay? Okay, now you. All right, that's fine.
Professor Saukat, Riga Technical University.
Can you take the microphone, please?
Words about nuclear power, plans, perspectives, middle term, long term.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, the nuclear energy is one of the most difficult issues we are when we're discussing the energy policies in Europe, because public opinion is very divided on this issue. Also, the positions of member states are quite diverging. Currently, we have 16 member states which are producing nuclear energy. 14 out of 16 want to continue with nuclear energy. And you know very well that in European Union we have very clear article in our treaties that the decision on energy mix, meaning how you're going to produce the energy, is national competence. So it's a sovereign right of each member state to decide how you would produce your energy. If you decide to go for nuclear variant, it's a decision of the member states, but, and there is one very important but, you have to respect the highest of security and safety standards if it comes to the production of nuclear energy. And for that, we have quite important powers for the European Commission. We have nuclear inspectors who are working with us and with the authorities in the member states to make sure that our nuclear power installations are the safest in the world. On top of it, we kind of broaden the scope of the energy security and safety also beyond the borders of the European Union, and I think through different international venues and agreements we managed to push our standards also to the neighborhood, because we all remember how it is when you are respecting the security standards but your neighbor is not, because if it comes to the disasters, they do not know the borders. Therefore we are trying to enlarge the zone of security on nuclear power installations as much as we can. One new element in I would say nuclear energy, except these two, would be that once we adopted the strategy on energy security in Europe and we put very high importance for energy security and energy diversification, it applies not only to oil and gas, it also applies to nuclear fuel. And we are now, I have to say, together with the Nuclear Suppliers Group, which is a group which was created upon the Euratom Treaty with very strong powers, and we are very much insisting that also if it comes to the nuclear fuel, the diversification principle must be respected. So it means that the technical specification and technical standards must be adjusted to the fact that you can get the fuel from more than one supplier. So in the case of need or for commercial reasons, you can actually switch the supplier of the nuclear fuel to make sure that the diversification principle is applied also here.
Okay, as we wrap up this round, I will take an opportunity. I think this question could be on many people's minds. It's connected to the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Somehow, we got through the last winter without much disruption in the in gas supplies, irrespective of the fact that there's war going on. I mean, we don't know how the conflict will escalate, or well, have you got sort of confidence that even if it still escalates further, we will be able to sort of live through it without a sort of energy supply breakdown the next winter?
I mean that somehow was quite difficult to achieve, I have to say, because I mean the last year my predecessor Günther Oettinger was involved in quite long negotiations, and then I took over, and I was continuing to make sure that the trilateral agreement which was achieved was actually observed and properly implemented. Just what was this agreement about? I think we found the formula concerning the debt of Ukrainian gas company Naftogaz towards Gazprom, which was acceptable for both sides. We managed to help the Ukrainian side with the help of IMF to pay for what for Ukrainians meant the whole debt, $3.1 billion, and what for Russian side meant part of the debt, because the overall amount of the debt will be decided in Stockholm arbitrage. We managed to agree that the Gazprom will supply as much gas as the Ukrainians would prepay. We managed to agree the suspension of the take or pay clause, and we managed to agree a couple of further very important technical details. Of course, we've been very much on the phones. There have been one or two instances where the European Commission was sending our monitors to the dispatch center to Kiev just to monitor how the flows of the gas are going. And what was, of course, very important, that the European Union in this particular winter played a very important role in the gas supplies of Ukraine through the reverse flow. So for the first time, we can say that the Ukrainian gas supplies been secured from west, from Western European countries through the reverse flow of mechanisms in Slovakia, Poland, and to a certain extent also in Hungary. And once this winter, as you said, without big gas dramas, was nearing to the end, my proposal to both Ukrainian and Russian energy minister was, let's continue with this experience. Let's extend this framework until the Stockholm arbitrage rules on your disputes. And this is what we are negotiating right now. So I mean, we had several rounds of expert talks. I'm in touch with both ministers, and I hope that we will be able to secure the same or similar or the agreement which was very close to the agreement we had for last winter, also for the next winter, so we can really avoid these problems in the future. What is my major argument to both sides is that I'm telling them that you are kind of responsible for the image of gas from the East in Europe. For Russia, for you, it's very important to develop the image of being a reliable supplier. And for you, Ukraine, it's very important to develop the image of being a reliable transitor. So we cannot also, for your sake, to have, I would say, this permanent ups and downs, I would say, in the winter period, because it's not good for you. It's of course, it's a negative signal for our economies, and it kind of forces the gas companies in Europe and operators in Europe to look for alternatives. So I hope that we will be able to find the agreement on how to manage the next winter in the same way how we did for the last one, because it worked. So I hope that we will be able to convince them.
Right. So this is to sum up, if the sort of escalation level continues basically pretty much the same, you're pretty confident that we will be able to manage the situation.
I think that I mean, what is the difference between now and 2009? At first, I think I have to say that we learned from the past. It means that according to our gas stress test, which we did the last year, now the EU, not all the member states, but most of the EU can survive even 6 months without Russian gas because of our interconnections, reverse flows, the gas storages, and so on and so forth. And the second, I would say, very important factor is that we have now yearly warning mechanism, which was triggered already a few times, and it worked. So we managed to resolve the problems before they became the crisis over the last winter. So we have these two, I would say, very important elements. We are much more resilient. We have now early warning mechanism, and I still hope we will have a framework, trilateral framework, in which we would all feel comfortable. There will be no gas dramas next winter.
All right. My last question on this round. I think a very interesting idea, a very ambitious idea that many experts have laughed at, having heard coming out of Brussels, but this was something that President Tusk mentioned about the gas aggregation mechanism idea, the single gas purchasing agency, meaning the idea being that, well, if we achieve our objectives of the energy union, then one day we should be able to buy as a European Union, to buy gas as a European Union, not as 28 whatever number of member states separately. Obviously, we might be interested in, as Latvia, as an energy island, we might be interested in that sort of a solution. Very briefly, do you imagine this sort of ambitious agenda somehow being actually implemented in during our lifetime?
I mean, in this, I would say, particular area, I think there are two very important elements. That one, as you suggested, and as it was presented by Mr. Tusk, the idea of the common purchase of gas. And second one, which we added to this, was much higher transparency of all the gas deals, I would say. Because I think what is the idea behind common purchase of gas and also the transparency is that we in European Union would like to have the same amount of information as our suppliers have. Because if you supply to 28 different countries, to, I don't know, 30 plus different entities, you know exactly what are you offering on the other side. But we who are purchasing the gas, we are very often very secretive about it. It's a commercial secret, you know, maybe I get a better deal here, better deal there. So we've been not sharing the information, which of course put us always in a much more difficult negotiating position. So now I think with all the lessons learned, what we would like to achieve is, I would say, the level playing field, the information sharing. If it comes to the common purchase of gas, currently we are working on the study how this could be done. Of course, as you said, it's not an easy task because from one side we want to ensure the energy security, from other side we have to respect our competition rules, meaning that we are not going to create some kind of permanent cartel which would abuse its position. We have also to respect our obligation to the World Trade Organization, that we are actually respecting the rules to which we sign up, and we are looking for the ways how this could be done. And the transparency, there we would like to make sure that if it comes to intergovernmental agreements, we again would not repeat the mistakes from the past where governments or the companies signed very important deals without letting the partners know, and then we discovered later on that they are or not compatible with the European law, or they go against our competition policies, and then of course that was the problem. So we will be working on these two fronts, how to make our position stronger when negotiating with dominant suppliers, and how to make the transparency to be a very important principle if it comes to this gas deal making.
All right, good. I've heard unofficially that some of Professor Bloomberg's students might be here, and you might have your grade improved if you involve yourself constructively in this discussion. So you want to make... yes, that worked.
I see that exam session is getting closer.
Right.
Good afternoon. My name
name is Katrīna Kārkliņa, and I'm a student of Professor Dagnija Blumberga.
Right. Good.
And I have a question. We're speaking about gas, oil, but what about renewable resources, especially biomass, or gasification, or CHP plants? Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I could actually introduce the round 3 because it feeds the question into this idea. But that's good. That was supposed to be round 3, but it's good. Energy efficiency, low carbon economy, alternative resources. Do you see, I would just enlarge on your question that we received, do you see also coming from sort of analyzing the Latvian perspective, but also the other member states, do you see sufficient willingness to proceed with these sorts of projects, with renewables, alternative energies? We have a very lively discussion. I'm sure that there are experts on both sides of the aisle on that issue who are arguing, with great emotion on the two divergent sides. That's perhaps there's just too much of alternative sort of burden on the efficiency of the economy. So, your broad remarks on the...
I mean, at first thing, I think what's different, let's say today in this climate change discussion and with the situations a few years ago. I think today, unfortunately, due to this weather pattern changes and these huge catastrophes we have on our screens almost every week, be it floods in Central Europe, hurricanes in the States, typhoons in Asia, drought in Africa. Nobody is doubting that climate change is happening, that simply we have really permanent weather pattern changes which are extremely dangerous, extremely costly, and that we need to deal with it. So I think that's, I would say, the first thing which today is new with the situation. If I compare it with some years ago, where you still had quite a few important voices which been somehow disputing, I would say, this fact. Second, I think, issue is that Europe is really a global leader in this matter, and there was a unanimous decision of the heads of state and government in October of the last year that we will remain to be global leaders in this effort. There was an agreement that we are going to reduce until 2030 our CO2 emissions by 40%. We are going to increase the production from renewables to 27%, and we are also going to increase energy efficiency by to at least 27%. And of course, because as you said, there is always a big debate also within the European Union, who contributed more, the new member states starting with the energy transition later, how you can implement the principle of solidarity and respect the different starting position in this effort. And I think that the European Council found the solution, the parameters they offered for the future been also quite clear. That, for example, the auction from the emissions trading system would be divided in a way that 90% of the revenues from this auction system, and here we are talking about billions of euros, would go to all member states, but 10% will go to I would say, the least developed or new member states or cohesion countries. So that's the first element of solidarity is already in there. Second element of solidarity is in creation, so-called modernization fund, which will be used for helping especially the energy installation, which are not up to the, I would say, modern level of today, to renovate, to be energy efficient. And third, I would say, element of solidarity was that we are going to continue and enlarge current fund, which is called NER 300. It will be called NER 400. for the research and innovations to make sure that also for such sources of energy like coal, we are going to invest in the clean technologies like carbon capture and storage, so there could be in the future a better prospect with this type of the energy sources if they can be used in a clean, in a CO2 neutral way. So that was the solution. The leaders found and put the markers on the ground, and around these key principles, now we have to present the new proposal for the reform of emission trading system. What's going on in other parts of the world? Unfortunately, I have to say they are not as ambitious as we are. We are now in, I would say, a super hectic diplomatic activity, reaching out to our global partners that they should join us in this effort, that without them Europe cannot save the planet, because we are producing, emitting only 10% of CO2 emissions globally, that we need on board the United States. They, I think, made quite important proposals. We need China. They, for the first time, indicated they are ready to be part of this exercise. We need Russia. They declared they want to be part of this exercise as well. But then somehow, you know, the positive attitude has stopped. We haven't heard from many other countries to come with their pledges, what they want to bring to Paris, and therefore we need to be very diplomatically active to simply convince the partners in the world, and especially in the G20, because they emit 75% of CO2 emissions, that this is a unique chance we need to use and take advantage of in December in the conference in Paris. I think we need it for the planet, we need it for our next generation, but we also need it for creating the level playing field for our industries. So the conditions for environmental protection, for CO2 emissions would be more or less similar as they are in Europe, because otherwise, of course, the differences are too big, and these efforts are not as efficient as they could be.
Right. Please, yes. Can you deliver the microphone there, please? Oh, yes, another student.
Hi,
yes,
I'm
no?
as well studying here in the Rīgas Technical University. My name is Aneta Zvaigzne, and I have a very simple question. Would it change something if we took energy efficiency as high priority as renewables? I mean, of funding for bottom up, would it help reaching our targets? Thank you
very much. If you could pass the microphone over there. Yes, please.
Of course, I mean, you absolutely, I would say, as American say, nailed it, because this is what we put in our energy union strategy, that we completely need to change our view on energy efficiency. We are pushing for this change of the mindset, which will be difficult, especially in our parts of Europe, in Central and Eastern European countries, because we want that the energy efficiency would be seen, perceived and viewed as a new source of energy. That this energy efficiency first principle would be applied when all the big decisions on a future capacity building or future energy planning is being considered. That at first we should really assess and estimate how much we can actually achieve through energy efficiency. I mean, we've been talking a lot about the gas, but 1% of energy efficiency gains means that we can import by 2.6% less of gas. So you can imagine if we would increase our energy efficiency by 5, by 10%, so here we are talking big numbers. And on top of it, I mean, it's clean. On top of it, it saves the money on the energy bill, and at the same time, it increases our energy security. So you have a lot of winners in the energy efficiency proposals, but very often, as we discussed this morning with the mayor of Riga, Mr. Ushakovs, of course, it's not easy, because I mean, especially if you go to the residential areas, to the apartment blocks, there are very complex legal issues. It's very complex from the financial point of view. But therefore, we are suggesting, and we are working together with the European Investment Bank to create such a special financial instrument. We call it smart financing for smart buildings, which should kind of help the mayors and municipal administrations to overcome these problems, to secure the financing, to offer legal assistance so we can actually start this energy efficiency wave across industry, across the residential areas, because maybe one more figure which would make it even more plastic. As I said, we pay every year 400 billion euros for energy imports. And if you look how we spend the energy, so 40% of all energy we spend goes for heating and cooling of the building. So you can see that how many dozens of billions we are talking about, and how much we can actually save if we would go for energy efficiency. And on top of it, I have to tell you that now more I'm traveling across Europe, so you just cannot stop being impressed what kind of technologies do we have in Europe. I mean, it's really amazing what we have here, and I could really name, I would say, some projects and technologies in almost every member state. And I think it's now our task to bring these projects to the limelight, to talk about them, to exchange best practices, and to really help them to be financed and convince the people that's a temporary inconvenience where, you know, the guys come and fix your apartment, and when they install the smart meter, that actually it's worth the trouble, because you save on the energy, you will be much stronger master of your energy bill, you create the conditions for future smart technologies to come to your apartment. And all this, I think, we need to highlight even more than in the past, because usually the bit of a skeptical attitude in some of our member states is that, you know, it's gradual, it's small, it's person by person. But I mean, in the end, I mean, it works, and the results could be great. So I really think that energy efficiency would be the trademark of European industry, which we will sell well in all countries in the world, especially where they have big problems with the air pollution. And we know that there are quite a few countries where you really have a problem to breathe if the weather conditions are not good. And there is strong interest in our clean tech and in our energy efficiency technologies.
Yes, another question there, please.
I'm Raimons Kirans, I represent Energy Efficiency Association of Latvia. We have initiated support of Energy Union 8 months ago already, but till this we don't have any answers from officials. Could you give us any advice?
And it was some kind of project, or it was...
It is, yeah, about Baltic Energy Alliance. Could you give this advice on how to support this question and the idea of energy union in actual action, and where is this platform for supporting of this question, and is there any plan for supporting energy union and financing for this question? And do you see a role of a governmental institution or association in this field? Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's very practical. It's a very practical question, and thank you very much for that. Yeah, I think what we have seen that in quite some member states still there is a problem with absorption of EU funds if it comes to energy efficiency, and that's always the question, you know, how this could be done better, you know, what we have to change in Brussels, what needs to be changed in the member states, and how we can, I would say, set up the system for this financial perspective, which will be here until 2020. I mean, the 7 years budget, so the money could be used much more efficiently. So that's clearly one way where we would very much welcome if you have some concrete ideas or concrete complaints. What is the reason of, or what are the barriers which are forbidding the full absorption of the EU funds in this field? I think we'll be very, very happy to learn about it and to try to find the solution with Latvian authorities. Second, I think very important element is that the last week we found an agreement between the European Parliament, the member states, where the Commission is always playing the role of facilitator to create this energy fund for strategic investment, or as it's called by the media, the Juncker investment fund, where I'm sure the energy efficiency will play a very important role. We have seen the first 4 projects which have been approved by the EIB. They've been all from the field of energy efficiency. On top of it, I can tell you that I was very, I would say, impressed, even I would say overwhelmed by the meeting we had with I would call them green alliance of the pension funds, banks, because they came into my office and they told me we together control assets worth of 9 trillion euros. 9 trillion euros, it's 9,000 billion euros, so it's a lot of money. And we are ready to invest in energy efficiency, in a green projects. We have a lot of money available. We are not banks, so it means that we don't want to get the money back tomorrow or the next year. We are there for the long-term project. What we need is regulatory stability, and we need the intermediary who would help us actually to aggregate the demands, to prepare this project. And I think this is now the role for the Commission, and therefore we are working on this special instrument on smart financing for smart buildings. But it's also a role for, I would say, each member state, because I suggested also today in our meetings we had in Latvia that it would be very useful if one of the Latvian banks would sign an agreement with EIB on investing into the energy efficiency, because in that case a lot of things, I mean, it's becoming much easier, because this bank operating on Latvian territory can actually play the role of that intermediary and help with financing of this project. Concerning the very often criticized bureaucracy which comes with this project, and it's always very painful for me when I see that there is a lot of money from European budget which are not used, I mean, including in my own country. And of course one of the complaints is that the procedures are very complex, difficult, the timeline are very demanding. So we very much wanted to avoid, I mean, this from happening again, and therefore Jyrki Katainen, the former Finnish Prime Minister, who is now Vice President of the European Commission, who is here today and explaining how this money could be used in Latvia, is putting a lot of emphasis on creation of so-called advisory hub. So it means that we will have one phone number, one email address where you can ask the question, you know, if we want to invest in energy efficiency and we want to get the funding from the Juncker Fund, how to do it. They should be ready and prepared to reply to your question and help you with these very complex issues. And of course, we are setting it up. We hope it will start to be operational over the summer period. And of course, I'm sure that it would need some tweaks here and there. But that's the idea, that the money is available. Good projects are needed, advice and financing should be to a great extent helped or provided from the European institutions.
Right, we have some additional questions there. Hang on to them, please. We are running out of time a bit, so what I propose to do is we now take the third round of your remarks, and then we will gather all the remaining questions, and that's how we'll finalize it. So I will now give you an opportunity to address the issue of interconnections, which was already raised here,
yeah.
The issue, but maybe you could, make it in more practical terms. I mean, perhaps in the Juncker investment plan that we discussed so much, maybe you see there practical opportunities to eliminating this still concept of the fact that we're still an energy island, pretty much, Latvia. Could that sort of money of the investment flow into interconnection projects as well? Do you see there opportunities? A couple of minutes for that, and then we'll gather all the remaining questions. Okay?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's very pertinent question, because we would never be able to build internal energy markets if the energy would not have a physical capacity to flow freely among our member states. So we clearly need the interconnectors for gas, interconnections for electricity exchange, and we more or less know what to do, because I mean there was already a lot of work put in preparation of the list of so-called project of common interest. It's 248 projects, all of them from energy infrastructure, different kind of interconnectors, and you know when they will be in place, that our situation in Europe would be totally different. We would have internal energy market, we would have free flow of energies, and our energy security would be much higher. We started with the calls of proposals. I mean, we would like to have another one by this autumn or early spring next year, but still the process is not as fast as you'd like to see it. I think we discussed the issue of GIPL, and I can tell you that there are many situations which are very similar to this. So it's always a bit of like on the balancing scale, for whom this project is more needed and how this could be financed, and there I think we need to be a little bit more assertive if it comes on insisting on the implementation of this project, especially where the financial support was already provided with. I do not want to say that we need to impose this project, but that we just simply shouldn't let the time fly by. I mean, if there is a problem, we should sit on that issue, we should invite financial experts, we should involve the international financial institutions to help us to finance it. Why the Juncker Fund could be the game changer in all this is because usually when you have a normal bankable project, so it's private-public partnership, usually you do not need the intervention from the EU institution because the project is bankable and it's interesting for the investors, so investors would go to invest. But very often the projects from the field of energy securities are as military airports. They are not bankable, they are not economically viable, but you still need them. You must have them. And I think, therefore, we need to change a little bit how we view the energy security infrastructural project, and for this reason the Juncker Fund was created, because it's not for financing, I would say, the regular projects for which you can just get the financing from EIB, EBRD, or even commercial banks. The Juncker Fund is for the projects where you still feel the hesitation from the private sector. You know, if we go in that, where will it be bankable? Will we get our investment back? Will there be any profit margin? And to make sure that the investors are not hesitating that much, we are now coming with the idea, look, come and invest with us, because we are ready to cover your first losses if the project will not work out. And that's the idea behind the Juncker Fund, to give additional reassurance to the private investors that if you go into this project together with our public investors, that you have this additional guarantee that if something goes wrong, you are covered. And we would like to use also this instrument to, I would say, kickstart the normal investment behavior in Europe, because we felt it everywhere in Europe. Currently, the investors are investing 20% less than before crisis, which, by the way, is a huge sum of money. It's between 200 to 300 billion euros less of investment every year, and we feel it on our transport, energy infrastructure, and this we need to change. So this would be, I would say, the answer to the question how to deal with these questions. So we need a little bit more, I would say, proactive approach from all governments, member states, the businesses, but we also have to create the regulatory stability and offer the private investors additional guarantees that the investment is sound and safe.
Okay, we've got 5 minutes maximum. So I propose to do, we have time for 3 30-second questions. We gather them, addressed to the commissioner. Okay, yes, please.
My name is Reinis. I represent Investment and Development Agency of Latvia. My question was regarding energy infrastructure and the Juncker Plan. Basically, the Juncker Plan implies for strategic projects also heavily reliant on PPPs. And my question was, if we're talking about energy infrastructure, gas storages, various issues like that, what is your opinion, what is Commission's opinion on attracting private investment or national oil company investment in European energy infrastructure, namely, for instance, from Gazprom, Sonatrach, Statoil, so far and so forth?
Okay.
Thank you.
Could you pass it to your colleague? Yes. And you then as well. Okay. Cheers.
Hello. My name is Ditis Palais, Latvian Biomass Association as well European Biomass Association. Actually, I wanted to tell you that speaking about energy efficiency without mentioning renewable energies is actually lobbying for fossil energies. Because if now we are investing in newer technologies still running on fossil energies, actually it is prolonging the time that we use the fossil energies which are polluting and we still import them. So my question would be more concerning how the energy union is going to ensure that there will be a switch to the renewable energies from the fossil energies, and that would have a higher importance than, let's say, more efficient fossil energies. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last one over there. Do you memorize all these?
Yes, I think
one?
that
Okay.
first was about
Yeah.
PPP, second about renewables,
Yes.
and third
I have a different opinion about
that's very, you know,
Yeah.
that's very well reflects the debate in,
But
in
the same
Europe.
question, energy efficiency and renewables. Do you think there might be a
Don't go
situation
there.
when these two objectives are conflicting each other? Example, in one district heating system we have existing gas-fired power plant which producing electricity and heat, meaning cogeneration, and the new one which might produce only heat using biomass, meaning renewable energy resources. European Commission is supporting both cogeneration, it's supporting renewables, but in this situation they're competing each other. What is, by the way, this is a true story. What is your opinion about that? Thank you.
This gave you the picture of the nature of the debate, pretty much.
No, thank you very much. I mean, to the first question. Of course, if it comes to the investment into the infrastructure, you know in what kind of state we have our public finances. I mean, we still have quite a few member states which are fighting the deficits. I think in Latvia, you demonstrated enormous courage, resilience, and ability to go through the difficult times. And you know that the consolidation of public finances was something which was very difficult task, and you accomplished it. And therefore, I'm sure that each government in Europe is now very careful how they handle the public budget, the public debt, how they're consolidating the public finances. And therefore, the philosophy which we used when you know, reflecting on how to help restart the normal economic cycle of growth in Europe was that we actually have to mobilize that money which are in savings banks, which are in pension funds, because the people been just worried to invest, people been worried to buy the new stuff for them because they didn't know what will happen next year if the crisis would continue. I better just have the money of my bank account because I don't know if my job is secure, I don't know what will happen next year, so I avoid some unnecessary spending. And this led to this, I would say, freeze of investment in Europe. But therefore, we wanted to use that channel, that strong financial muscle Europe has of this money which is idling on the account, which cannot be used for I would say, the investment and normal economic activity. So I would say that the public-private partnerships will definitely be the major vehicle how to restart this process, major vehicle we can support. I would say we should not shy from any investor who is ready to invest in our infrastructure under the condition that they are going to respect European rules. You have to respect European rules. You have to respect European law, as our companies are respecting when they are investing and when they are doing business in any other countries. Once you respect the European laws, European conditions, you as an investor are welcome. If you are going to abuse your power, of course we'll go after you, because this is what's normal in any other country, in any other economic system. So that would be my answer to the first question. And the two other questions. Of course, I think that renewables went through enormous development over the last few years. I think that when you see how much more efficient they are, how cheaper they became, I think we can say that we see that this new technology, which was really started in Europe just a couple of years ago, is maturing. So it means that we will also see from the European Commission, and we already reflected it in our state aid guidelines for renewables and for environmental technologies, that we need to create the conditions that these technologies would be treated very soon as mature, which are able to compete on the internal energy market. And I believe that the future is very bright. I mean, we clearly have a goal, at least 27% by 2030, but to be quite honest with you, seeing all the technological revolution which is taking place in many of our member states, I think that the efficiency and the renewables targets would be exceeded. Every single day you see something new, some new innovation, which is cheaper, which is better, which is really bringing great results. And of course, if it comes to the competing projects, as you can imagine, it's very difficult for me to comment because I do not know the exact situation. But I think that, of course, there should be always the principle respected. Is it in line with national and European policies? Is it in line with our targets? Is it cost efficient? Is it acceptable to our public? Is it good for our city? Is it good for our country? And I think these should be the principles which we always have to apply if it comes to the difficult decisions.
Okay, this would be the moment where I would have to do the summing up statement, but I'm a very, very lazy person. So what I decided to do was to forcibly involve Andris Piebalgs into this discussion a bit. If you could pass the microphone to him, yeah, over there. I'm sorry, this is not going to be difficult. So my question would be very briefly. I mean, you've heard all of this, and you still follow, I believe, the sort of energy sector. Is this something very different than you were talking about 10 years ago? Or has there been really progress made into developing a common policy? Or is this same thing over and over again and nothing really changes?
Well, I think the first question was the right one. It's about energy union. It's definitely new quality need to be achieved. And I think the controversies that came out in the end also comes out. Because at the early stages, it's easier to achieve some particular goals. The goal first was to make renewables competitive, that they are able to compete with fossil fuels. The goal has been achieved. To launch also energy efficiency, because it was marginal, you have achieved. And you started some changes in the internal market, expecting that European competition policy will take it over. So actually now you need to bring all elements together. And that's where the real challenge is. Because, well, market forces usually don't like too much regulation, but you need to regulate, and member countries would like still to organize their own energy policy. And they need to give more powers to the market and also to Europe, I mean to the European Commission and ACER. So it will be politically very, very difficult process, but I think what I would praise our Vice President is that he travels through the countries, because you need to get public opinion behind you. Otherwise, you will definitely fail in the policy. And I believe this Energy Union project for Juncker Commission is the main project, actually, because Juncker plan is only to support something. This is really where you create something. So I would very much to thank Vice President for coming, and for the audience also. It was very, very interesting for me to follow. But I definitely had envy to be in his place, but not anymore as a child. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So if you get really tired of your job, we can always send paybacks back to Brussels. Anyways, thank you very much for being here. We usually get a lot of Slovak hockey players in Riga, but you did a great job as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks.